Hi, friends, on this Thursday, April 15th, with Reading with Principal Rabb-Patterson. We're almost there. 15 Amazing American Women Who Have Changed the World by Laurie Calkhoven and Patricia Castelao. Today, we're going to read about Condoleezza Rice, and we're also going to read about Anne Bancroft. All right, Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of State. Fact file: born November 14th, 1954 in Birmingham, Alabama. Never married, no children, and still alive. Condoleezza Rice spent her early years in Birmingham, Alabama. It was the most segregated city in the South, and she often had to deal with racism. Her parents told her that she could do anything. If she could dream it, she could do it, and believed that education was the key to success. So Condoleezza studied hard. She also took piano, figure skating, and French lessons. In her early teens, her family moved to Colorado, and Condoleezza entered the University of Denver at the age of 15 to study piano. She planned to become a concert pianist, but she wandered into a class on international relations and decided on the spot to change her major to political science. She went on to get a master's degree in economics and a PhD in international studies. Condoleezza became a professor at Stanford University, but in 1989 she was asked to work for the National Security Council, NSC, under President George H.W. Bush. Condoleezza returned to Stanford at the end of his term as president, but his son, George W. Bush, asked her to come back to Washington when he was elected president. Condoleezza became the first female head of NSC, and in 2005 was named Secretary of State, the first African American woman to hold that job. As Secretary of State, she led efforts to promote democracy and peace around the world. After leaving office in 2009, Condoleezza returned to Stanford and continues to teach. Shockwaves. Condoleezza was 8 on September 15, 1963, when a bomb, set by people who were against equal rights for African Americans, exploded at the church where civil rights leaders met. 4 young girls, one of them a friend of Condoleezza's, was killed, and many others were injured. Condoleezza and her family felt the force of the blast from their home. Surprising connections. The college lecture that got Condoleezza hooked on political science and international relations was taught by Joseph Corbell. He was the father of the very first woman to become Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. All right, and that is Miss Condoleezza Rice. All right, thank you for your efforts, Miss Rice. All right, next, Anne Bancroft, Polar Explorer. Fact file: born September 29th, 1955 in St. Paul, Minnesota. Never married, none, and alive. Anne Bancroft's family explored Minnesota's wilderness on camping and canoe trips when she was young. By the time she was 8, Anne was planning camping trips with cousins and friends. In 4th grade, she began camping alone in the family's orchard in winter, and when she was 14, she and her brother rappelled down a frozen waterfall. Anne had a learning disability and struggled in school, but she did well in sports and made friends. She went to college to become a teacher and spent 4 years as a physical and special education teacher before she had a chance to make a childhood dream come true, to join an expedition to the North Pole. In 1986, Anne set out from an island in the Canadian Arctic, and 56 days later, she and her teammates reached the North Pole by dog sled. Temperatures were as low as 70 degrees below zero. The team survived on oatmeal, cheese, noodles, dried meat, and fat. After that, Anne wanted to go on even more adventures. She skied across Greenland, and in 1992, she led 3 women on an expedition to Antarctica, the South Pole. It took them 67 days to make the 660-mile journey. She returned to Antarctica in 2001 with Norwegian adventurer Liv Arnesen, and they became the first women to ski across the frozen continent. Today, Anne encourages girls to pursue their dreams through money provided by Anne Bancroft Foundation. African adventures. After she finished 4th grade, Anne's father joined the Peace Corps and moved the family to Kenya in Africa. For 2 years, Anne attended the local public school and had a great time getting to know the people and exploring the new environment. Dyslexia. Anne has a learning disability called dyslexia, which makes reading difficult. She believes it was good training for joining a polar expedition. On an expedition, you have to focus on putting one foot in front of the other and doing hard work, which is exactly what people with learning differences have to do every day. Brr. On her trip to the North Pole, Anne suddenly felt the snow give way underneath her feet, and she fell into a freezing polar water. She was able to climb out quickly and change her clothes, or she would have died. It took her 2 days to stop shivering. And that is Miss Anne Bancroft. Have a good evening, friends.